Cool. So what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. Today we have two great guests on. They are online coaches from Everfit, Marshal and Keaton. How you doing, guys?
Good.
Pretty
How's it
good.
going, man?
Awesome. Amazing. So it's good to have you both on. For the audience as well that may not know who you are, do you just want to give a brief intro on each of you and what you've done?
Sure, you can go ahead, Keith.
All right. So I kind of started my health and fitness journey probably when I was 12 or 13 years old. Had a huge, a ginormous interest in it from the time I was really young. But basically, I went to school for kinesiology at UIT. So I got my undergrad there for 4 years there. And then I started personal training about 2 years ago. And through that, I kind of, really realized that I love personal training and, I love to be able to kind of help people out in a different way. But I kind of realized we were kind of capped with the whole training people in person, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of translate, that into like an online kind of thing, right? So that's kind of at a general basis, that's kind of my story. But how about you, Marsh?
Yeah, so coming from the same roots, basically. So Keith and I grew up in the same hometown. We've actually known each other for, I don't know, better part of 17 years of our 23 years that we've even been on Earth. So he started working out around the same time I did. And it's actually, I don't know if I ever told you this, Keith, but you were, I saw you as like my competition with working
Yeah.
out in public school. You'd always work out and stuff, and my older brother would be working out, and he'd invite me, and I'd always say yes because I'd want to be like the biggest, strongest guy. And I noticed you were always working out, and I'd be like, "We're gonna get bigger than Keaton," kind of thing, or whatever,
That's jokes.
Yeah, that's just a little funny side story. But anyways, yeah. So I started young too, 12 to 13. I started working out. Fell in love with it. As soon as I could get a gym membership, around 14, I think was the minimum that Snap Fitness allowed for young people in there. So I was in there at 14 training my ass off. I had no idea what I was doing. Probably the worst form in the world, but we all start somewhere, right? So I started doing
100%.
that, realized I loved the journey, the fitness, the packing on muscle. It felt great, right? It gave me confidence, gave me more energy, inspired me to do other things. But yeah, since then, I've started Everfit. I've taken Keaton on board recently because he was trying to do the same thing. He's a personal trainer and he's trying to get in the online scene, and that's what I do is online fitness. So I figured I'd take him on, and yeah, we're ready to kill the game now.
Yeah, I love that, guys. And there's a lot to dissect from that. I think the first thing is just generally the feeling of training when you're a skinny teen. It is probably like a rite of passage I think most guys need to go through because it really is like the springboard to help you improve in other areas of your life. And like I always kind of say as well, and it seems a bit harsh, but like as a young skinny guy, you kind of like at the bottom of the barrel, right? And you kind of feel like, wow, like everything's ahead of me or everyone's ahead of me. And actually just going to the gym, training, building some good habits can actually push you to think, actually, I can go out and achieve something and push on to run a business, which obviously you guys are doing, and I myself are doing something similar, which I think is great. Another thing I think is important when starting out is making a lot of mistakes. Like I made so many mistakes, man.
Yeah.
You don't even understand. And I'm sure you guys are the same. So what are kind of the most common mistakes you felt that you've made during your journey when starting out?
I'll take this one first, Keith.
Yeah, go for it.
My first one would be, I always, like, when I was 13, 14, 15, just getting in the gym, I'd go in there as 150 pounds at 6 foot, and I'd see these huge guys just curling 40, 50 pounds, right? And I'd get so jealous. And I wanted to be as big as them so badly, but I knew I was like half their age, right? So I'd try to copy the techniques they were doing. So if they were going slow or whatnot, I'd be trying to go slow and without them noticing that I'm copying them, right? And then the biggest mistake after that was I'd go so hard on the training and I didn't pay attention to anything to do with diet. I had no idea. I knew I had to take protein in, so I bought protein powder and I'd take a protein shake a day thinking that was enough. I'd eat whatever my parents cooked me. I'd struggle to put on mass, right? I was like 16 maybe, put on like 10 pounds, and I was like, yeah, putting on muscle. And realistically, I had no idea what I was doing, but I had no idea what a caloric surplus was at that point. So definitely that is paying attention too much on training and not enough on recovery, because sleeping is actually where your muscle is built, and you need to have sufficient nutrients, protein, calories to actually build that muscle while you're sleeping, right? So it's a pretty big mistake I see very common.
Yeah, that's very common. How about yourself, Keaton?
You hit that on the tee there, Marsh. Honestly, like for me, I found that ego lifting was big. On a side note, like the high school that Marshall and I went to, we had a gym, right? Like a little workout room, and basically we had we had this thing called the bench press board, and basically this was stapled up there as soon as you hit 200 pounds plus, and it would go up by what was it, 225, right, Marsh?
Yeah,
So
25-pound
like
increments.
250, and so once you get to 250, you get the bench press shirt. And that was, if you got to 250 before you left high school, that was like a rite of passage kind of thing.
Yep.
Oh shit.
I saw so many guys that I like, so many of my buddies would get into the biggest competition on bench press day. Like friendships were ruined some days over this board, right? So it was that was a big thing at our high school, is like ego lifting. I'm sure if I look back, my form when I was, 15, 16 was probably terrible. I
Yep.
mean, a gym teacher can only watch, so many kids working out at the same time, right? In a class of 20. So that was a big one. And then to kind of add to Marshall's point, like similar to Marshall's point, actually, um, food, like nutrition, I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I just thought I definitely wasn't eating enough. So, I would think, oh, I want to get lean and shredded, yada, yada, yada. And I'd be like, oh, I can eat this apple and like eat lots of fruits and veggies and stuff. But I don't think I was ever eating enough. And if I could go back, I think that would be one of the biggest things I would want to fix, is I think I want to put myself in a proper, caloric surplus, and try and add muscle while I was younger, 16, 17, 18, rather than, being a deficit for the whole time, right? So I think that was one of the bigger mistakes I made, but
Yeah, nice. Actually, to myself, I was the same really with all those things. So I think the biggest mistake that I made was trying to chase the abs and chase getting lean straight away. So I was already quite athletic. I already had low body fat, but I went onto this website called Simply Shredded, which had all the like fitness models on. So it would have like people like Rob Riches, Ulysses, like all these jacked up fitness models. And I used to follow their sample diet plans and training plans. And I was like, well, if I follow these guys, I'm going to look like these guys. And unfortunately, that's not the case. These guys have been training for years. A lot of them are enhanced, right? And I started following them. And to be honest, I got really, really lean, but I lost like a year, 2 years of a decent surplus from just eating tuna, rice, and protein shakes and having no clue of calories. And I think it's one of those things we all go through. Again, rite of passage, make the mistakes, injure yourself, like I did the ego lifting, and you kind of learn through that point that actually there's a thing called science, there's a thing called a surplus, there's a thing that I can do called actual research on what to do, and that's kind of how I learn, I think, through that. But I think there's a lot of ways that guys can cut their learning curve through people like yourselves, through people like me, online now, because there's a lot of guys now, especially on social media, voicing the right way to do things, and I think that that's really good.
for sure. I
Yeah.
agree,
I
man.
definitely agree. Yep.
Yeah, sick. So you obviously went through those mistakes, went through the rites of passage, and obviously got some decent results. What made you want to shift from just training yourself to kind of training other people and getting paid to do it?
I
Go
would
ahead,
say
Mark.
um, the feeling that you get when like it's hard to explain for someone who isn't there yet. I guess you could say, like, isn't like where at their goal.
Sure.
It's the feeling you get when you get to your goal. You feel like a superhuman almost. It's like in March I started at 192 pounds during my cut, and now I'm at 180, and I feel like I have so much more energy. I have more confidence. I have more visibly shaped muscles. I have like a better jawline. I have more energy, better happiness. You know what I mean? Like all this stuff. I want to help other people feel this exact same way.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, I have to give value. I have to explain my ways. I have to prove myself. in order to gain these clients to help them do the exact same thing. So I basically, essentially, in one line is I want to make others feel simply amazing, as amazing as they can feel, and live the best life that they can live.
That's amazing. And
For
yourself,
sure.
Keaton?
So yeah, to kind of add to what Marshall was saying there, like I think for me, and I know for Marshall as well, when you apply health and fitness and make that a priority in your life, right? It it applies to all other areas essentially. And I think a lot of people that are, you know, uh, engulf themselves in health and fitness would agree with that. So, for example, um, if you don't feel right, if you're unhealthy, you feel tired all the time, you're not eating properly, you're not training, you don't have confidence. That's gonna that's gonna scale over into, your relationships with your friends, with a partner, whatever. It's gonna scale into your motivation to develop a business, or to just put yourself out there in general, right? So I think, like what Marshall said, without having put yourself in the shoes, without making the time to, you know, better yourself, you're never going to know what that feeling's like. And like Marshall said, I want to help people uh, feel the way we do, and in hopes of helping all other areas of their life, if that makes sense,
Nailed it.
you know?
Yeah, amazing, man. I
So,
think definitely I agree with that. And I was listening to the David Goggins audiobook. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, Can't Hurt Me, which is really, really good. And
yep.
there's a quote from it that says something like, if you're underperforming in your physical challenges, you're more than likely underperforming at work and school too. And it's true, right? There's like this knock-on effect when you're maybe not pushing yourself in one area. Like you said, it spills over, and you're kind of like, well, I'm just going to maybe settle in my relationship, or maybe I'm just going to not take my business so seriously and relax. Whereas if you are at full tilt every day and smashing the physical progress, it reinforces you can do it elsewhere, which I think is really important, and a great habit to build. I think the challenge is, for most people, there's a lot of, rubbish out there when it comes to nutrition. We made those mistakes when it came to our fitness. So, one thing is like breakfast, right? People say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Now, I have my own opinions on that. What do you guys think about that? And do you think it is actually true?
Go ahead, Marsh.
No, that's not true whatsoever. I grew up thinking that my entire life too. Like it's literally like embedded in your mind as a child, which is kind of unfortunate, I guess, in a way, because it's just, I don't know. In my opinion, it's the least important meal of the day for most people. Not always. It's obviously person to person, cases vary, but most of the times there's just no need for food as soon as you wake up. Your body is in a fasted state when you wake up for the last 8 hours of you sleeping. There's no hurt whatsoever in that another 4 to 6, even 8 hours.
Yeah.
Like there's no, and having coffee, water, the energy you feel, the progress you'll see, it's phenomenal. And pardon me, sorry. The breakfast is the most important meal of the day is actually a marketing gimmick, I was told or read somewhere, that Kellogg's cereals released in I think it was the 1960s to try to promote their cereal. And I'm pretty sure, I can't remember my source for it, but it was a legitimate source. And I read it and I was just like, wow. That's in my mind, because I'm a marketing major, that's genius marketing. But at the same sense,
Yeah.
it's sad. It's like, it's not true whatsoever. It's literally just misguiding and misleading people for profit. But I mean, you do you believe what you want. If you don't like my opinion, so be it.
Yeah.
So to add to that, like, so I'm a huge person about being super efficient. Like that's super important to me. And before I started intermittent fasting, I would try to aim for, a meal every 2 to 3 hours, the typical thing. And I found, as soon as I started switching into intermittent fasting, I found that my energy levels were a lot higher. I was spending a lot less time, cooking and prepping food. I mean, just the benefits are really endless. And I think, just the efficiency that you will benefit from is alone worth it. Like I feel like if I had breakfast before, rewind a couple years ago when I wasn't fasting, you'd have, cereal or fruit or whatever, and your insulin spikes, and then you get really tired after, and your mornings are supposed to be productive, right? I mean, at least for me, and I hope for a lot of other people, I think the mornings are kind of where a lot of people like to get their work done, unless you're kind of a night owl or something, right? But I feel like that energy crash isn't worth it. And I feel like my digestive function is a lot better when you have that fasted state. And
No
I
bloating.
think a
Yeah.
lot of people too are way too strict on it. Like your eating window, I try to follow the 16 uh, hour fast and then the 8 hour eating window, but I'm not strict on it. I'm not like, I have to stop eating by then. I have to start eating by this time. It's usually, like Marshall said, wake up, try and go 4, 6, maybe 8 hours if you can make it that far before eating and use coffee and water in between. You're going to feel great and start with a smaller interval and build your way up. That's the way I've
Yep.
been doing it. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, nice. I think you both touched on some really good points there. The first one is definitely the society's narrative on breakfasts, and it is much better from a marketing point of view to say you need this than actually you can have it if you want, you don't have to if you don't want to, right? Like
Create a problem, sell a solution. That's
exactly.
marketing
There you go.
in a sense.
Marketing 101.
I've studied this for 5 years. I'm about to graduate. It's marketing to a T, and it's sad to see people fall for it.
Yeah.
And people like 60-year-old boomers, it's so embedded in their brain that you cannot change their mind. No matter what you do, they'll eat corn pops at 9 a.m. with a pound of bacon, and then complain that they can't lose weight with their sugary creamed coffee. And it's like, you've consumed 1,500 calories before 10 a.m.
Yeah.
That's almost my entire day's worth. I haven't hit 1,500 calories until 7 p.m.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
difference between you and me. And people don't
So
understand
true.
that. But I could get riled up all day about this.
It's so true though.
But
It's the same with mass consumerism as well, right? It will tell you you've got a problem with your life, that you don't have enough, and then they're going to sell you a fancy car or a new pair of trainers.
Exactly.
When it is, yeah, it is nice to have a new pair of trainers, but you don't need it. It's not essential, and it's exactly the same with breakfast as well, which I think is important. And Keaton touched on a really good point there as well about general efficiency. So for me, I work with a lot of entrepreneurial and professional clients, and they have very busy mornings, and if you want to be focused, if you really want to get the most out of your day, it's really important that you have like a really good work block in the morning. And actually consuming a fuckload of carbs and feeling sluggish is not going to help you do that, man. Like it's just going to detract from your performance, which I think is a thing. And I think as well, like you said, Keaton, about the window, it doesn't actually matter like when you have it. What it is just about is overall caloric restriction and obtaining the benefits of focus and less calories. And if you can do that at 16:8, great. If you do it at 14:10, fantastic. If you can do OMAD and only eat 1 meal a day, not me, but fair play to you, that's great. And again, it's a subjective thing, and I think it has so many benefits, man. It's seriously an underrated life hack, intermittent fasting.
I agree. Everything you just said is spot on. It's like the beauty of it is too, it fits anybody's schedule. So if you work midnights, you can adjust it to your schedule. If you work afternoons, you can adjust it to your schedule. If you work mornings, same thing. It's like, and if you rotate, say you have shift work every 2 weeks, you're on evenings and then you're on days, you can just adjust your schedule as you go, and it works amazing. So
Yeah.
To add to that, so I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I enjoy the odd pint or two here and there. I'm not gonna
yeah, of
lie.
course.
Sure.
Yeah.
And what I want to say about that is that, like, a lot of people don't drink in the morning if they're gonna have a casual beer or whatever, and socializing typically happens later on in the day. So, let's say it's a Friday night or something, your buddies want to go golfing. That fits perfectly into your schedule. Golf at 6 p.m., have a light beer or whatever, socialize. It's all about balance, because if you're too strict with everything, you're never gonna adhere to the lifestyle, right? And you
Sustainability.
shouldn't be you know, sacrificing social outings or seeing your friends just because you want to get fit. That's not sustainable, right? So
Right.
just to add to that.
Yeah, that's
So
perfect.
Yeah, 100%, man. I completely agree with that point. And you're right that, I always have the motto, fitness should enhance your life, not limit it. And I think that that's a great way to
I
look
like
at
that.
overall nutrition and training. Like, you want to look good. You want to get the benefits of discipline. You want to get a good body. You want to show people that you can potentially be above average and that you have these skills. But actually, also, you want to be part of the group and you want to be able to go out with your mates that actually don't care about fitness and just want to drink beer. You want to be able to do that and still maintain your health. And fasting, I've found, has been a great way, especially for me, like on weekends. Like if I go out with my mates on Friday night, I can fast during the day for ages, hit my protein intake, and boom, I'm out in the evening, like enjoying some vodkas, having a great time, and still staying lean. And of course, there's a group of people that just care about health and don't drink, and that's absolutely fine. It's a personal choice. But for those that are out there that want that balance, fasting can be great for having that freedom to do the things you like.
100%.
I
Hit it
definitely
on the
agree as
tee.
well. Yep.
On another point regarding intermittent fasting, what are your guys' views on intermittent fasting when trying to bulk up? Because I have my own opinions on this. So it'd be good to maybe talk about this and essentially your guys' opinions on it and what you do with clients.
You can go ahead, Keith, if you want, or I'll
Okay,
take
all
it.
right.
It doesn't matter. Do you want to
Doesn't matter to me. You go for it.
Okay. So me personally, I find it like if I intermittent fast while I'm bulking, like in a surplus, I can do it no problem because I love food, right? But that's not the case with everyone. A lot of people struggle to eat enough food to put on muscle. Like, I guess I think they're called ectomorphs, like skinny tall people.
Skinny tall people, yeah.
Hard gainer.
Yeah, they struggle to get their calories in. So I wouldn't recommend it. Say if you are trying to put on muscle and you can't put on muscle, don't fast. It's just kind of a waste of your time. But if let's say, for example, a skinny fat guy, you want to put on some muscle, you want to do some body recomp. I would say eat at maintenance while intermittent fasting and work out, progressively overload. And yes, you'll definitely gain some muscle, you'll lose some fat, and you'll be good, you'll be set. But I guess it's kind of subjective. It depends on the client and the person. So fat loss, I almost always recommend it, obviously. But muscle gain, I would say probably about a 50-50. It depends on the person, their eating habits, how much they can eat, their body type, the kind of training they're doing. There's a lot of variables, right? But
For sure.
yeah, for the most part. I love it. I recommend it if you can do it because it helps me stay lean while I'm bulking up. But I don't always recommend it.
Yeah, nice.
Hit it on the tee there, Marsh. I'm gonna say, to add to what you're saying, I completely agree. So for me, I've been in a deficit for a while now, but when I want to bulk back up, put on a little bit of muscle, I'm gonna continue fasting. But what I might do is I might change the eating window from 16-hour fast, 8-hour eating window to maybe the 14-10. So that way, I'm still getting some of the benefits, maybe not as much, but I'm able to have a bigger eating window to get the calories in. And I mean, if you're doing the two big meals with, snacks, one or two snacks later on in the evening, I don't see why it wouldn't work. And like we said before, it's always subjective to the person, and whether or not they're a hard gainer, whether or not they gain muscle or fat easier. It's all subjective to each person. Just like fasting isn't for everyone. I mean, I've had people, I've obviously told my buddies about it and stuff, and some of them have had lots of success, but other people have said, I can't not eat in the morning. I don't feel well, et cetera, et cetera. It's all subjective, right? So that's kind of my view on it. If I had a case study to look at, a person in front of me, I might be able to tell you, okay, if they're a hard gainer, this is what I would do, based on their weight, their height, everything else, right? So that's my take on it. But I agree with Marshall for the most part.
Yeah, I love that, guys. And what I like about it is both of you are not married to a concept, right? And you find, unfortunately, in the fitness industry, what you see is I'm keto or I'm vegan or I'm intermittent fasting, and they kind of like attach this diet and approach to their identity. When in truth, actually, some days I'm intermittent fasting. Actually, some days I don't. I have a big breakfast, right? There are other days where I need to have food. But I think with intermittent fasting for bulking, the one thing I would say is it may not be as optimal for muscle protein synthesis. So what I do say to my clients is maybe have a small hit of protein in the morning, just to kind of make sure you've stimulated MPS, and then eat how you want throughout the course of the day, kind of carb backload, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
but
I
again,
definitely agree with that.
But again, obviously, like there are some people that like won't be hungry in the morning as long as they can get their calories in during that window, and they're progressively overloaded, and they'll build muscle. So again, it's subjective based on the person, and some days you can adhere to the rule, and some days you don't have to, right? As long as there's an overall trend of hitting those key principles, I think that's the biggest message.
Yep, sustainability is more important than perfection.
That's it.
Yeah,
love that.
If you can do something imperfect longer, you're going to get better results than doing something perfect for a short amount of time, and then you just regain all the weight. So you want your bar to look like this over time instead of looking like up and then straight back down.
That's it, man.
Exactly.
And that up and straight back down is your typical crash diet, right? Where you do everything well for the first few weeks, then boom, the weekend hits and you can't manage it. And
then you regain, and then you get off track, and then you give up, and then it's just a repeating process.
Yeah, and trust me, I've been there before as well myself, which is not good.
Has.
Yeah, it's not good.
Every single person has been there.
No, that's really good. Another thing I wanted to touch on was I saw you had a tweet on Twitter that got semi-popular, Marshal,
God.
about fruit, right? So I thought we'd bring up the topic, right? Will fruit make you fat? So that's the topic of discussion now, guys. Feel free to chip in on that, what you think.
Oh my God. Okay, I'll just start the conversation off like this. You're an idiot if you think fruit made you fat. Just get that out there. Get out of my system.
100%.
It's just like, if you like, okay, there's people are counter arguing me with a link to an article pertaining to zoo animals getting fat from fruits. And my reply was, 1, I'm not a zoo animal. 2, I don't live off fruits 24/7. I don't only eat fruit. And 3, I'm not a zoo animal. You can't. And another person acknowledged, they're like, what about bears? Bears eat 80,000 calories of berries before they go into hibernation. I was like, okay, sure. But I'm not going to eat 80,000 calories of berries and go into hibernation. I'm not a bear. I'm talking about people. No person ever got fat from eating fruit, and I would pay you to try. It's good luck. You're going to be so sick of every single fruit before you have a chance to hit a surplus. You'll last 3 days before you in a surplus of eating nonstop fruit before you're like, I absolutely cannot take any other fruit. Try it. I haven't even tried it myself, and I would be confident in saying that. It's just, I don't know. I just thought that the whole discussion was just, first of all, it was blown out of proportion. I did not expect it to blow up like that. And second, it's such a ridiculous. I don't know.
People take it out of context, right? Like,
yeah,
I just read through the tweets like really quickly the other day, and I was just mainly laughing because of the mention of the relating it to animals and how people how Steve Jobs died of cancer due to a fruitarian diet, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like I don't know, just people are spitting facts that they have really no idea what they're talking about in terms of health and talking about cancer and stuff, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut here for the most part. But
a lot of people took that tweet as a fruitarian diet is healthy. That's what they thought I was trying to say. And that's not what I was trying to say whatsoever. I was trying to say that no one got obese from eating that much fruit, right? But people were taking that as, because they're not obese, you're saying they're healthy by only eating fruit. But no, that's not what I'm saying either. In my opinion, the fruitarian diet is a terrible idea. You're going to have, a diet that focuses too much on anything is a terrible diet.
It's bad for you. Yeah.
You need a wide variety of macros, of minerals, of vitamins, and if you're only eating one thing, it's not gonna satisfy those requirements, right? So I don't know, people just got so butthurt over that. I never knew fruit had a cult following, but now I do. So
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Anything on Twitter that you put out, it can be subjective, but people don't take it that way. They see it as a black and white statement, such
Yeah,
as you said, fruit is not bad for you. Everyone's like, but it is if you only eat fruit. But actually, there's not one single person in the whole fucking world that just eats fruit. So practically, it doesn't make sense, right? Like
exactly.
it's stupid. And I can understand people's concerns in regards to overall sugar. So when you look at the other side of it, I do get that. Yeah, let's say your overall food intake's high, and then you eat loads of fruit on top of that, and that bumps your calories up and overall sugars. That potentially does, right? But like that's not the statement that you're making, right? And it's
not at all.
Not at all, right?
There's
It's
a million ways to put it.
Exactly, and it's much better you having a piece of fruit with some great vitamins and some great minerals over a candy bar, right? And again, going back to the real world, that's where we live, man. Not on this fancy world where everyone just eats fruit.
Exactly.
Anything, no matter if it's fruit or not fruit. If you have, say, your maintenance calories are 2,500, you're eating 2,400 per day, and then you're eating 500 calories of a snack, say fruit or chocolate or ice cream. No matter what that is, if it's putting you 400 calories over your maintenance, you're going to gain weight. It's so like, that's not what I was saying with the statement with the fruit. It's just fruit is a sole variable, didn't make you fat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, yeah, that's one of the big ones that I see a lot of people kind of very misguided around fruit. Another one is around diet soft drinks as well. So for me, like I drink a lot of diet soft drinks. I drink a lot of like Monster and things like that.
I drink Monsters, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean they are high in caffeine, man. They're good.
Yeah.
I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on diet soft drinks? Is it something you're on board with?
I'll go ahead. So on this one, I mean, so like I mentioned to you before, brother, so I run that car detailing business,
Oh yeah.
and I I last summer I was drinking the sugar-free Monsters, and I'd have a couple throughout the week. Sometimes it was one a day, and I'll tell you, it's like taking a hit of pre-workout. Like it's different than coffee for sure.
Oh yeah.
And it definitely helped me get through a lot of the work quicker, and with more energy and stuff. But that being said, there's a caveat to everything. I think that you know there's potentially ingredients in there that might not be the greatest for you. Um, and like we were talking about before, balance is a staple with everything, right? So don't drink them every day. Don't drink two or three a day if you can. If you can try and limit that kind of stuff, that's what I'd recommend. I mean, if you want to have a couple throughout the week, I don't think it's bad. I think it all comes down to balance and whatnot. But if you're feeling tired and you need a pick me up, I mean, and you don't want to get a black coffee, just go for the Monster. I mean, it'll kind of have the same uh, appetite suppressing effects because of the caffeine and everything. Um, and
To
there's
add,
vitamins in there, but they're probably not very
yeah.
bioactive or bioavailable.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
But
I can add on
anyways,
that
Marshall.
too.
Yeah.
So I personally, I'm a huge fan of the white Monsters. I don't know if you guys have those.
Yeah, I love
The,
those. Yeah, they're the
the
best.
citrus ones, the white ones, sugar free. They're just my favorite, right?
Yeah.
So I have a really addictive personality. So if I buy too many, I won't stop myself from drinking them daily. So I'll buy like two at a time, and I'll try to stretch to a week or something. And this isn't every week. It's just like occasionally. I find it most. I use them strategically. Usually, if say it's 12 or 1 p.m. and I've drank two coffees already or three coffees, and I just don't want any more coffee, but I'd like to wait 3 or 4 more hours for my first meal. I'll drink a Monster, and that holds me over better than even coffee does. Like, I don't know what the hell they put in that stuff, but it'll suppress your appetite for a solid 4 hours straight. Um, like that doesn't sound healthy. I don't do this often. It's only if I'm really hungry earlier in the day, or if I have, say, I'm going on a bike ride at 2 p.m. or something, and I want an extra boost of energy. I'll drink them occasionally, but by any means, I don't really recommend. I won't say I recommend Monsters too much. Maybe one or two a week max, and try to keep them sugar free, I would say. And as for diet drinks, I don't like pop. I used to drink a shit ton of it growing up. I was a little chubby kid. but I don't like it anymore. It hurts my stomach, and I don't drink diet pop either, just because I don't like the taste. The aspartame just gets me. So if I do drink anything, it's just 0 cal monsters, and those things are, be careful.
Yeah, those things are strong, man. I drink those a fair bit, and with diet soft drinks, I always get people say to me, "It's going to give you cancer," all of this rubbish. But the research I think that's out there's only proven there to be research in something like rats, and there's no negative effects on humans as far as I'm aware. So they're actually all correlation studies, not causation. So, I think with it again, just have diet soft drinks in moderation. I think, like you said, Keaton,
Yes,
don't drink it like it's water, of course. But if you are to have one, opt for a 0 calorie one, because 0 calorie soft drinks are proven to cause you to lose weight compared to ones with sugar in. So opt for a 0 cal one, and yeah, try not to have like a one really late at night, because obviously that's going to impair your sleep. So try and limit the caffeine to before 2 p.m. But apart from that, you're sweet, man, and it's nothing to worry about.
yep, exactly.
Yeah, sick. So from like a training point of view, what are you guys focusing on? So for like myself, I'm very big on probably 75% bodybuilding, so into your 8 to 12 reps, with a little bit of power building as well, so some lower rep stuff, and yeah, just general muscle building and trying to build strength. I love doing that, and I've started experimenting with a little bit of HIIT and F45 as well recently, some more functional stuff. So for you guys, what you're really into, and what do you really enjoy?
You want to go first, Key? You want me to go first?
Sure, I'll go first.
Sure.
So I typically, I kind of bounce around, if I'm going to be honest. I mean, especially with quarantine, you kind of have to adjust, the last couple months, what weights you're using, what kind of training you're doing. I mean, I've always, similar to you, Oliver, I've kind of stuck to the whole bodybuilding split, whether it's been, a push pull legs, which that's probably my favorite way to structure my workouts. But sometimes I do, uh, single or double body part splits 5 days a week. Sometimes I'd be in there doing a push pull leg split for, days, going through, higher volume, trying to hit every muscle group twice. And same rep range as you. I go a little lower, closer to the 6 rep range, if I'm really trying to, build strength. But for the most part, I'm in that hypertrophy range, which I would agree with. It's right around 8 to 12. I rarely ever go over 12, unless I'm trying to do like a burnout set or something. Um, but yeah, like I said, it's at home now. I'll do a push pull leg day split, with the weights, the dumbbells that I have. And I'm really enjoying doing 3 days a week right now, and trying to make sure my diet and my fasting is on key. And I think that's worked wonders for me so far. I mean, I was doing cardio, uh, I don't know, probably a couple weeks ago. I still go on walks here and there, but I was doing, jogs, some hit stuff. But I kind of wanted to reset my metabolism for the last, 2 or 3 weeks, so I kind of gave it a rest. But that's kind of where I'm sitting at with training and rep range and everything. So, anyways, go ahead, Marsh.
So my favorite training is very blatant and straight to the point. I love strength training. That's my number one. Bodybuilding. So I like going for I don't know actually if you call it bodybuilding reps. I like 4 to 6 rep range for building max strength, right? So when I'm in a surplus, almost all of my heavy lifts, my compound lifts, squats, overhead press, weighted pull-ups will all be in the 4 to 6 rep range for the first at least 1 to 2 sets. And then usually the third or fourth set I'll go to 6 to 8 or 8 to 10 and go a little later on the weight, and try to get those higher reps in as well. But most of the time, I don't know. I prefer the low rep ranges in heavy weight with strict form, and I found it. I've got the most progress, and like I built the most dense muscle from the low rep ranges. Which actually, I borrowed that idea from Gregor Gallagher. Honestly, you obviously know,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So he preaches that stuff too. He likes the low rep ranges, and he's like someone I look up to, huge in the fitness industry. I just love the way he does his Kino Body Company and stuff. But for the most part, and when I'm trying to cut fats. For example, like right now, I would do not so much 4 to 6 rep range. I'd go a little higher, 8 to 12 mostly with my reps, and I'd go a little slower tempo, try to burn the muscle. It's not too I'm not too particular on training. I try to stick low reps, heavier weight on strength building, and a little bit lighter weight, a little bit higher reps on not. And during quarantine, I've kind of just been focusing on body weight training, which I actually enjoy. At first, the last 6 years, I've been in the gym doing strength training and whatnot with weights, but I've kind of ignored body weight training. Like it's always been in the back of my mind, like,
Same.
oh, maybe I'll get to it eventually when I want to. But like I'm enjoying bench pressing and pull ups and all this too much. But since the quarantine, it's been a solid 2 months of me body weight training, and I all my weak points have strengthened right up. So like I didn't realize how weak my triceps really were until I tried doing an L sit, and I couldn't hold it for like 30 seconds. To me, I wanted to hold it for at least a minute. So I've worked my way up to there, and I've built strength that way too. So you don't always need a gym. You don't need a gym to build strength, to build muscle. It depends on your progressive overload, on your eating, etc. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I vary widely. It depends on the time. Depends on the goal I'm aiming for. But right now it's higher reps, body weight training, and just waiting for the gyms to open because I can't wait to get my hands on a bar.
Yeah, man, I'm exactly the same. You touched on some good points there, guys. I think regarding like rep ranges, you can build muscle in kind of any rep range, and I've actually typically found that the lower rep range is great because you actually move more weight than you would ever before. So if you think about most people, they train at 8 to 12 and they're like, right, I'm going to stick to this weight and try and progressively overload. You're never going to touch to like 100 kilos or 120 if you don't go in the like 3 to 4 rep range or that lower rep range.
Exactly.
And that's a big thing that people miss. They're like, well, that's strength. Well, actually, if you look at the overall principles of how you build muscle, it's through progressive overload. So actually, you need to give your body, a little bit of that activity from the heavy stuff, right? You need to give it exposure to those heavy lifts. And I'm similar to you, Marshall, in the sense that when I started doing the like 4 rep overhead presses, the fucking disgustingly heavy squats at like 3 reps, I actually got stronger in the hypertrophy rep range, and that in turn helped me get stronger elsewhere. So I think that's really important. In regards to gyms, I actually can't wait for them to open, and I'm the opposite. I fucking hate bodyweight work. I'm sorry, I can't get my head in it, and I can't do
hard.
it.
It's definitely difficult.
It's really hard.
A week or two to actually adjust. In my first 2 weeks, I was literally like, I felt like shit during the workouts because they were difficult again. And two, I wasn't enjoying it. I was like, I hate doing push-ups. I hate doing like whatever I was doing, calf raises on the stairs. It's like, oh, this sucks. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with this. Go ahead.
That's all right. No, I agree with you, man. It's hard, but I think it's just one of those things you just have to adapt. Like we don't have a choice, and I found that my overall mobility's got better. So like I've been working on, like you said, weak points. So I've been working on mobility, like overall stretching, and that's a great way to use quarantine, right? To do that, because most of us weightlifters are very bad when it comes to stretching and overall mobility.
I've actually been doing that too. Before and after every workout, because I used to, not always, but I usually stretch maybe like 3 or 4 times per week before, and now I do it every single day, and I feel better. Like when I can. Before I used to struggle to, when I'd lay down for the bench press, my hips were tight and it would hurt when I'd lay down, and I knew that my flexibility was horrible if I couldn't even do that, right? So I've fixed that, for example, and I can actually, like, you guys can't see, but I can actually spread my legs right open now. That sounds horrible.
To add to that, Marsh,
Moving on swiftly.
So the gym that I work at, well, I still work there, but obviously we're shut down. It's called, do you guys have Anytime Fitness over there?
Yeah, so I actually use Anytime Fitness myself here in the UK.
So I train there, and so I'm a personal trainer there, and then I also I used to work at another gym before that, and I would run so basically group training sessions for adults, and then also group training sessions for younger athletes from like 10 to 18 years old.
Okay, nice.
So I had a year and a half experience before starting, as a personal trainer at Anytime. So anyways, the owners at any time were like, "Hey, have you ever taught a spin class before?" And I'm like, nope. I'm like, I barely like my endurance cardio wise is okay, like not bad, but they're like, "Oh, would you want to teach it? You can kind of fake it till you make it." I'm like, "Okay, I guess so. I'll do it. Whatever. I'll help you guys out." And let me tell you, that is tough. Like when I first started, I was, I'd tell them to be on resistance 12, but I'd be on like resistance 6 and I'm just completely just gassed trying to talk to everyone.
Oh my god.
And it's mainly like a lot of women in there. So like the classes would be like 10 to 12 women, and I'd be up there trying to yell over the music and stuff. So it was a bit to get used to. But anyways, back on point with Marshall stretching. So we do a core and stretching finisher at the end for about 10 minutes. And I was never big into stretching. I started really getting into it the last year or two. I know it's bad, but basically, you really see the progress. I was stretching like 3 or 4 times a week, doing the same stretches with the women in the class and everything, and I found like I could barely reach I was close to my toes, for example, in the hamstring stretch there. And then, after a couple months of doing it, I'm reaching down, almost grabbing my heel. And I'm like, holy, like it really makes a difference when you put your effort into stretching. And I found I got a lot better control of my reps during working out.
And better range
Like
of motion too.
yes, and you feel everything better when you're able to move in a more efficient, more functional manner, right? So
Definitely the number
that,
one underrated part of bodybuilding slash training
sure.
is stretching. I think people always say, "Oh, stretch, you need to stretch," but they don't actually enforce it and they don't stretch. Stretch,
Yeah.
stretch, 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 stretch. Stretch your
Yeah.
muscles.
Yeah.
100%. And I think with general bodybuilding as well, it's the stuff that you do outside of the gym that's important, or outside of lifting, right? So things like your stretching, sleep is so important. Like, I can't even talk about how important sleep is. And it's one of the things I try and nail down first with my clients, because sleep is like the foundation to everything that goes well in your life. I say it's kind of like, you can focus well with good sleep, you can be happier with your girlfriend, you can lift better, you can have a more productive work day if you get good sleep. Now if you don't do that, you're operating at like 60%, man, and it ruins you. And obviously you've got the performance side but also the recovery too. You're not going to build the muscle you want to, and that can be hugely counterproductive if you're just starting out where you've got so much potential to build that size. So I work on that a lot. What other lifestyle things do you think that you guys focus on that you think is important for people to kind of get nailed when it comes to their fitness progress?
Do I
You
go?
want to go, Marsh, or me?
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
I don't care. Let's go.
I'll go. So I think in my opinion, one of the most underrated um, topics when it comes to health and fitness and making sure you're on the right track is hydration. So I think a lot of people really, really neglect this, and the key point about this is that most of your recovery in the muscle needs a surplus of hydration to happen. I mean, your muscles are like, I forget the exact percentage. I
70%.
think it's like 79% water or
Yeah,
something.
70 something. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And so, you know, to hammer down this point, you need to be drinking. I think that the 8x8 rule is good. 8-ounce glasses of water every single day. I think that's a good place to start. And then if you want to aim for, I'd say 1 to 2 gallons of water every single day. I think that's perfect. And I think without that, you're not putting yourself building muscle and living a healthy lifestyle is all about putting yourself into the most optimal state to do so. And if all your points aren't checked properly, you're just not being efficient. You're wasting time, right? So I think hydration is key. Another point would probably be, I think a lot of people don't eat enough protein. I think that's really underrated, and that stems from either not being able to track, or like never tracking at all. and they have no idea how much they're really eating, right? So those would be the two bigger points. And then, Marsh, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, so I'd add on that protein point. Most people have no idea what a protein serving is. They have no idea
Yeah.
what optimal protein intake is for their health. They have no idea. They don't know the numbers 0.1 grams to 1 gram per body weight. They don't know what that like. It should be stapled in our kids' health classes, in my opinion, growing up. Your body needs 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. Just do it, right?
100%.
I think, yeah, I just think it's, anyways. And my next topic would be, we touched on it earlier, just for a second, but it's just the whole idea of fitness. So many people get the idea that it's a 30-day fitness challenge. It's oh, I'm going to go keto for a month and lose 20 pounds, and then I'm going to feel great. I'm going to be perfect after that. But the thing is, most people don't understand is you need sustainability in order to actually get anywhere. So you can, if say this person is 300 pounds and they magically overnight go to 200 pounds, that's not possible, right? But say they just magically lose 100 pounds overnight. I guarantee you within 3 months, that person is going to go from 200 pounds back to 300 pounds because they don't have the sustainable lifestyle to sustain that weight. It's the same thing as if you do a 30-day challenge. You're going to do the 30-day challenge, you're going to lose 10 pounds, but then as soon as you get out of that routine, as soon as you lose that lifestyle, you're just going to slowly but surely regain that weight. And that's what happens with so many people. People don't realize that you need to take on a sustainable approach. And that's why I guess you could say preach intermittent fasting so much, is because it's sustainable. It's, in my opinion, the easiest, most efficient way to not overtake your not taking a caloric surplus of calories without tracking your calories. Because a lot of busy people, executives, CEOs, that's who we're trying to target as well. They don't have time to track all their stuff. So if you easily implement a tool like intermittent fasting, it makes it much more effortless to be sustainable because you don't have to think about it. You just go 18 hours. I don't eat. 6 hours I eat. I'm not going to eat enough food in that 6 hours to go over my maintenance. I'm not going to gain weight. It's sustainable. I don't have to think about it. And you just practice that for the rest of your life, essentially. And
100%.
it's essentially a hack to life,
Yeah.
in my opinion. It's not a magic pill by any means. So for people listening, intermittent fasting is not going to magically transform you into this model stud who gets all these girls or guys, whatever.
Yep.
No, it's not. It's a tool that you can leverage in combination with resistance training, a proper diet, and progressive overload to transform your body in the most easy and efficient way possible, if that makes sense. That's
100%.
what I try to preach that to my followers. It's like, yeah.
It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle.
Exactly.
Rather than some fad or some diet that, like you said, has no sustainability. I mean, and like you said as well, like at least to both of us, intermittent fasting is like very simple. I don't have to think about it. I'm not, you could look at it like this. Like Marshall said, it's a tool that you can use to your advantage, right? Whereas also another tool would be cardio. You don't like running and you don't want to intermittent fast or whatever, try intermittent fasting instead of the running.
Yeah.
It'll help you achieve that caloric deficit. I mean, by all means, don't not do any form of cardio, like don't not go for walks or whatever because you don't want to, because you're going to start fasting. But I'm just saying you have to look at the tools that you have in your toolbox and pick the ones that suit you best and use them to the best of your ability. I mean, that's what it all comes down to at the end of the day. And one more thing, do you mind if I go grab coffee and come right back?
Sure. Help yourself, man. No worries.
All right. Thanks, guys. Right back.
No worries. Yeah, I think with intermittent fasting as well, you're right with like busy people there, Marshall, that for them it's a really great approach because, again, like your willpower is, you've only got a certain amount throughout the course of the day. And like big executives and CEOs, right, they have to make complex decisions all the time, right? They're trying to run a business. They're trying to
Yep.
lead their staff, and it's like, do they actually want to think about what they want for breakfast? Do they actually want to have to cook, wash up, and deal with that shit?
That's exactly what I think of too.
Do you know what I
Yeah, so
mean?
like, I know a lot of like I think Mark Zuckerberg is one of them. Just as an example, he wears the same outfit every single day because it's one less decision
Yeah.
that he has to make on a daily basis that adds up. And that's the same thing with food too. If you have one less meal, say you skip breakfast, that's 33% less time per day that you're spending thinking about preparing and eating food. That's you take that time, you can spend it on learning a new skill, you can read a book, you can spend time with your family, you can go out and walk, you can do whatever the heck you want. It just frees up time. I could go on forever. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. And Jack Dorsey as well, this Twitter CEO, he only
Yeah,
eats one meal a
yeah,
day. I think he's on the OMAD diet. And I think from like if you're listening to this and you're a professional or a busy entrepreneur, think about like your flow state as well when it comes to your work. So like, you're going to earn more money for your business and you're going to be more productive when you're in the state of like flow. Like when you're boom, you're just like bang, I'm going to do 5 hours of work, and like you complete so much, you can go into depth, you're not interrupted, you're away from distractions, and that's what intermittent fasting can give you,
oh yeah,
as part of your environment as well. Of course, you've got to be in the right working environment, but from a food point of view, that really aids you in being able to hit that workflow state, and that can maybe take your business from working earning 6 figures to 7 figures. Right, like that every day can be a big hack.
yep. Higher productivity, higher energy levels. It transitions, like we mentioned earlier, from fitness straight into other areas of your life. So your relationships are going to improve, your business will improve, slash your career if you're not an entrepreneur. Your friendships will improve. Like people will notice too. Like it's success in one area, always, not always, I guess you could say, but I try to make it always overflow into other areas of my life as well.
Yeah, no growth is isolated. That's a term that I like. You know what I mean? If you're
Yeah,
leveling
that's
up
great.
elsewhere, you're gonna be good. So that's amazing. And another question I kind of wanted to move on to was kind of business. So obviously you guys are in a kind of partnership, right? Or you're both
Yep.
working for Ever Fit. I run my own online coaching business by myself. So yeah, it's weird, like the concept of potentially bringing someone on, but it's maybe something I need to do soon. So, what was the reason to kind of bring Keaton on, and what was the whole approach with both of you there?
So it became a lot carrying the whole company. And so let's backtrack a little bit first. Last September, I launched my coaching program, and it went well. I took on some clients. It was great, but I was also in my last year of school at university at
Okay,
the
yeah,
same time. So I was trying to pay for my schooling while training and running a company, while marketing, while it became a lot
it was a
very
lot.
quickly,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, so I trained those clients, and then I didn't renew, and then I waited, and I took a few months essentially from, I would say, about January to March, trying to decide either the direction to take the company, if I should maybe bring on a partner, or if I should just continue on myself and try again full time with my attention on it without school. So I came down to, I love the brand, not changing the brand. I'm sticking with it by myself, but I'm also going to bring on a partner because I saw Keaton was starting his own thing, and he knows, or I know he has a previously successful business in my hometown, and we're basically, I guess you could say, the two entrepreneurial people of our high school. I would say the most entrepreneurial people that I can think of right now, from our hometown. So I figured he's got the same values, same goals, same drive I do. I don't see anything that could go wrong. Like we're so far, it's been great. I think we've been together for about almost 2 months.
Yeah.
We haven't actually had a chance to meet in person yet because of the quarantine. But we've been working together. We've been working on Twitter engagement, our email list, working on potentially gaining clients when we relaunch in about, I would say, no more than 2 months tops until we relaunch our online coaching program. And we're also re-releasing a few of my workout programs that I released last year as the 2.0 version. So I'm going to improve those as well and relaunch with the company.
nice.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
stoked.
Yeah. To add to that, Marsh. So I think I think when it came down to it, we both have expertise in certain areas that really balance out great for online coaching. Like I have the personal experience in personal training, all that kind of stuff. You're taking your marketing degree.
Yeah. Yep.
I have my kinesiology degree, which is essentially, if anyone listening doesn't know what kinesiology is, it's basically a study of exercise science and how the body moves. So we fill in gaps, whereas if we were on our own, it would be hard to we would still be able to make it, but it might be a
We're
lot
like
more
two puzzle
difficult,
pieces
basically.
that fit together.
Exactly. That's
Yeah,
that's the way I look at it. So
Yeah. What I lack,
uh,
he gains. What he lacks, I gain.
yeah,
exactly,
nice. I,
exactly.
I
So
actually
it
had
works perfect.
Yeah, I actually had two guys on previously. They run a business together as well, similar to you guys, and they said the same thing. Like one of them's great at marketing and doing like the front end stuff, the sales stuff, the Instagram, and then other guy is really good at the back end stuff, the website and other parts. So I guess it's great to have like two people in. The only issue is that could potentially happen is you have disagreements, right? But I guess you guys
Yeah.
are quite early on at the minute, so you're pretty good, right? No arguments. Everything's good in
No, yet,
paradise.
not yet.
Yeah.
No,
No, no, we're
we're agreeable and we're both open minded. So I'm not honestly. Normally, I would have concerns with arguments and not people not listening. I guess I don't want to say listening to me, but like taking me seriously, etc.
Yeah.
That's why I took me like 6 years of entrepreneurship to actually trust into taking on a partner.
Yeah.
But I don't have that feeling with Keaton whatsoever. So I guess that says a lot.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. And what are your guys' plans for the future then? So obviously you're going to be launching these new programs. Kind of 5-10 years. Where would you like to see yourselves?
Competing with Kinobody.
Oh yeah, sick. I like
agreed.
that.
Agreed.
I would, or acquired by Kinobody.
Yeah.
Either or.
Yeah.
That'd be the long-term ambitious goal. Is definitely, yeah.
And
I look up to Greg so much. Like he's one of the guys that got me into working out. Huge, and I don't know. I just think it'd be fun to be competitive. Competition is
100%.
always nice. It's always nice.
Marshall and I went to Digital Dreams, like way back when it was like probably
2015
2015 or something like that.
music
And
festival. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
we were
yeah.
there together, and we both met Greg O'Gallagher, and Marshall took a picture of us together and stuff, and like
That's
he's a
before I
pretty
really knew
cool
who he
guy. I
was.
mean, yeah, exactly. So it's kind of cool to see. I mean, he's from Toronto, so we saw him at the festival, and then I had an idea of who he was before that, kind of followed him a little bit, and then but his marketing techniques and everything are really like
Yeah.
really really good. So it's something to kind of compete with eventually, hopefully, right? So
Yeah, that's amazing. I do look up to him as well. I think he's really sick. So, guys, I've really enjoyed the podcast today. I think we've covered a lot of great points. Lastly, for the audience, do you just want to let people know where they can find you and connect with you and check you out?
Certainly, find me on Twitter at the Forever Fit, and you can sign up to my email list where we're going to release maybe 3 or 4 emails per week, just on more detailed info that we talk about on Twitter. And as well, we're starting our own podcast called the Everfit Podcast, where we where we cover fitness, health, wealth, and growth. So we're going to be the hosts of that. That's something we're going to do in the future, near future, maybe a month, 2 months away. But yeah, we've been inspired going on other people's podcasts. So we're going to try it out ourselves. Maybe we'll have you on there too.
Sick. Yeah, no, that sounds amazing.
yeah, so on my part there, Twitter as well, at the gray_life. Follow Marshall and I for, free fitness advice. And yeah, I'm in this, like I mentioned before, to help everyone, as best as I can. And anything that is paid will be, you know, uh, we're striving for the highest quality and to make sure everyone's happy. That's the most important thing, and seeing results. Um, and I also want to mention too, so I've got an ebook coming out soon. Um, we're at 60 pages now, I believe. And basically, I just kind of uh, wrote it about. It's called the Mastery of Push Pull Leg Day Split. So it's kind of the training program there. I've included training principles, um, a bunch of little extras in there as well, and I think it'd be really valuable whoever's interested once we release. And like we said, we're gonna revamp Marshall's ebooks, and it'll be good. So yeah, that's basically it, man.
Amazing. Well, it's great to have you both on. I think you're both doing some really interesting stuff and have a great mindset on overall fitness that I can relate to as well. So, yeah, we'll definitely keep in contact and, yeah, hopefully maybe one day meet in future if our paths cross. That'd be great.
Yeah, for sure.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, I'd love to get a workout in with you.
Yeah, that would be wicked, man, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I've never been to Canada either. I want to do a ski season in Canada. I think that'd be sick.
Oh, I'll bring you right to British Columbia. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. So,
Yeah.
is that the best place to go? Where is the best place
yeah.
to do ski
That's
season?
just
Yeah.
straight mountains.
Yeah?
You'll be there. Oh my god, it's
Fuck
my
it.
favorite place on earth.
Let's do it. After this virus is over, let's do it.
Done. All right, let me know when you're in Canada. I'll fly there the fucking next day.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to go. I've had so many friends go out, and I've always wanted to do a ski season too. And I've heard Canada's like the best place to do it. So, yeah.
Yep, you won't regret it. I'm going to travel Europe in the next probably 5 years as well. So I'll be in the UK and back in my hometown in Amsterdam eventually too. So
Oh, sick. Yeah, man. Hit me up if you're EU way. Like, I do a lot of traveling around Europe and not far from London. So, yeah, man. Sick.
sounds good. Thanks for having us, Oliver. Appreciate it.
All right.
Anytime.
Thanks for having.
No worries. Speak soon, boys. Cheers.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Have a nice day. Peace out.